question is for the Premier. Mr. Speaker, when the Liberal Party formed government in 2003, they were handed a model for winter road maintenance. That model kept Ontario roads safe and was cost-effective. Then Minister of Transportation Jim Bradley and subsequently Minister Wynne abandoned that model. As the Auditor General noted, the Premier, as Transportation Minister, quote, chose contractors on the basis of the lowest priced bid. Premier, you made the decision to put Ontarians' lives at risk to save a few bucks.
Kill people.
Will you now take responsibility for the dangerous winter roads created under your watch and apologize to the people of Ontario?
Mr. Speaker, and I know the Minister of Transportation is going to want to comment on the details, but let me just say, Mr. Speaker, that I will...
The member from Renfrew come to order. The member from Nepean Carleton come to order. And I didn't quite get the one on this side. Thank you.
Say to the member opposite that we're very grateful to the Auditor General for her recommendations, Mr. Speaker, and in fact, internal review had already begun, and Mr. Speaker, there were already changes that were in the works, Mr. Speaker. So, following the internal review, the Minister of Transportation and its maintenance contractors have been working together to improve the quality, and I will say, Mr. Speaker, that as far back as when I was the Minister of Transportation, I was asking questions about the standards, Mr. Speaker. I was asking questions about the adequacy of the contracts, Mr. Speaker, and we were looking at whether there were changes that needed to be made. Those changes are being made, and we accept the Auditor General's recommendations, Mr. Speaker.
And to the Premier, Mr. Speaker, the companies the Premier picked to clear the roads used less equipment, less material, patrolled less often, and were unable to meet even the minimum requirements. When the opposition brought this important issue to the government's attention, the entire Liberal caucus shrugged it off. Minister Murray blamed the traffic accidents on snow-covered highways as an act of God. Minister Bradley said it's the weather. But now we know Ministry staff brought their serious concerns to the Premier's attention, serious concerns which the Premier ignored and put people's lives in danger.
People died.
Premier, how many people's lives were you willing to risk to save a few bucks in the winter months?
10 in the north.
Minister of Transportation.
Minister of Transportation.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. As the Premier mentioned in the response to the first question, prior to the Public Accounts Committee asking for the Auditor to go in and conduct her review, back in 2013, the Ministry of Transportation undertook an internal review. I mentioned this last week when I responded to questions on this very subject. As a result of the internal review, and I want to stress, this occurred before the Auditor was even asked to go and do her work. Combined, we brought 105 new pieces of equipment to both Northern and Southern Ontario. We appointed a Director of Maintenance, 5 area engineers, 20 area inspectors. We expanded our winter safe driving campaign, and also, Speaker, we reached out to the area maintenance contractors to make sure that they understood exactly what the contractual obligations were. We thank the Auditor for her report. We'll move forward with all 8 of her recommendations, and I look forward to having a chance to respond to additional questions.
Thank you. Final supplementary.
The Premier, Mr. Speaker.
That's nice.
Mr. Speaker, when questioned about the Liberal government's road maintenance contracts, minister after minister ignored the problem. Minister Murray told this House, quote, "We get good value for our tax dollars," end of quote.
Great.
Minister Shirelli said our contractors are required to meet ministry standards. We monitor their work. Well, the Auditor General made it clear this government made our roads less safe, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal government has had 5 ministers of transportation since 2010. And yet I've yet to hear one of them apologize to the families who lost loved ones on Ontario highways in accidents that could have been prevented if this government had been doing its job. So, Premier, why won't you take responsibility and apologize for your government's dismal record and putting Ontarians' lives at risk?
People die.
Be seated, please.
Be seated, please. Thank you. Minister.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the leader for that question. In addition to what I responded to, or what I said in the initial question, as a result of some of the other steps that we've taken, Speaker, for next winter season, 28 more roadside cameras will be in place to monitor road conditions. We'll provide dedicated funding to increase the use of de-icing liquids as appropriate.
Minister. The member from Timmins, James Bay, will come to order. Carry on.
Subject to approvals, because these were measures that were brought forward in Budget 2015, we'll have new equipment and...
No, we're going to do it again. Member from Essex. Carry on.
We will also work with our contractors to add dedicated spreaders for sand and salt, both in selected areas of Northern Ontario as needed, and also in congested urban areas. Speaker, I'd also point out that in fact it was my immediate predecessor, the member from Toronto Centre, the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change, that actually asked for the internal review in 2013 before...
Thank you. Any questions? The member from Kitchener-Conestoga.